Coachella 2023 is now underway, kicking off this year's music festival season. Hundreds of thousands of fans making the annual party pilgrimage to California's Coachella Valley, about 2 hours east of Los Angeles. The art, the outfits, the celebrity sightings, and star-studded lineups. This year, Bad Bunny making history, becoming the first Latino solo artist to headline Coachella, playing hits like Zafaera.
Are you ready for today?
Blackpink also with a historic performance, becoming the first K-pop girl group to headline at the festival with How You Like That. And Becky G with a sequin blue dress, blue boots, even a blue microphone fit for singing in the shower. While Coachella, for most fans, is all about the music, there is also a party scene that's become increasingly dangerous, with many illegally obtained drugs now laced with fentanyl, the deadly synthetic opioid 50 times more powerful than heroin. And now one group of volunteers is trying to help.
So when you walk up to somebody, what do you say when you have this in your hand?
I will usually just ask them, like, hey, are you interested in potentially having a test strip for testing for fentanyl? And people usually know what fentanyl is.
Hannah Raskin is one of dozens of volunteers with TACO, Team Awareness Combating Overdose, who are armed with harm reduction supplies like Narcan and fentanyl test strips that they believe can save lives. They're also partnering with local smoke shops to provide them with hundreds of free fentanyl test strips. What goes through your mind when you hear about fentanyl?
I get really scared because I know it's very common to overdose, and it's happening more often, or at least reported on more nowadays. So yeah, it's just a very scary thing.
We are now in the worst overdose epidemic in United States history.
I went into the bathroom and he was on the floor in the bathroom, not breathing.
According to the CDC, fentanyl was the leading cause for the record number of drug poisonings and overdose deaths in America last year. In 2021, more than 71,000 deaths were linked to synthetic opioids like fentanyl. Last year, the DEA issued a public safety alert after lab testing found that 6 out of 10 fentanyl-laced drugs contained a potentially lethal dose. Riverside County is home to the Coachella Festival and a growing fentanyl crisis that killed nearly 500 residents here last year.
To Sacramento and to all of our lawmakers that go
District Attorney Mike Hestrin recently pleading with state lawmakers for support passing legislation to crack down on drug dealers.
We're asking you to take a look and pass the laws and give us the tools to protect our citizens. It's simple as that.
Last year, a staggering 6.2 million fentanyl pills were seized here by the county sheriff's narcotics division.
Really happy to have you guys here today to be able to train you in opioid overdose response.
Ahead of Coachella, Madeline and Hannah hosted a virtual training session for their so-called TACO ambassadors.
Couple grains of salt or sand worth of fentanyl. It's a white powder. It's totally odorless, flavorless. So you can imagine how easily that could get mixed into something like a pill of MDMA or a bag of cocaine that's also a white powder.
Teaching them how to detect if common party drugs are laced with fentanyl using the test strips.
They're not 100% effective, but they are highly effective from what we've seen. When people use fentanyl test strips, immediately they're now aware that fentanyl is a risk.
They're also learning how to spot the telltale signs of an opioid overdose, such as constricted pupils that don't respond to light.
Take that flashlight on your phone, pass it in front of their eye, and then move it away. And what you should see is that when you pass light in front of someone's pupil, their pupil should get smaller. And when you take the light away, their pupil should get bigger.
And how to use Narcan.
This is what Narcan looks like for everybody on screen.
The opioid overdose reversal drug.
To use this, you simply insert the plunger into someone's nose and push the pink button down.
TACO volunteers have already saved lives using Narcan. This California college student, we're calling him Charlie, is one of those lucky overdose survivors.
It definitely took a minute for me to process everything. I kind of sat back and realized the significance of almost losing my life. And everyone thinks that, oh, it's not gonna happen to me. How could it be me? But, you know, it's when you start becoming careless like that, that it can be you.
On Friday night last year, near his college campus, like many young adults his age, he went to a party. My colleague Zareen Shah spoke with Charlie weeks after his brush with death.
It was like just towards the beginning, my friend and I were like, you know, hey, we should try this drug. A terrible decision.
Did it come from a place that you trusted, someone you knew? Like,
yeah,
where
I mean,
did
it's just like how any other college student gets a hand of this. It's like you either through a friend or you get a contact from someone else, word spreads throughout the grapevine. I mean, it really becomes accessible anywhere you go.
Charlie thought he was taking a common party drug, but the drug brought him crashing down.
I went to one of the rooms and then my friend walked in. He started talking to me and he said, hey, you know, how you doing? Are you excited for the rest of tonight? And I just kind of looked back at him and I said, you know, I don't feel so good right now. And that's, I think, what immediately raised concern. And I believe I passed out like right after that.
He was near death, just minutes away from becoming a grim statistic. In the midst of his overdose, a quick-thinking friend who had been trained by Taco swiftly administered Narcan.
He's alive today because we were able to educate his friends around him so that when he did overdose, they were prepared to respond.
I mean, without them, I don't think anyone around me would have had any knowledge of how to administer Narcan or have access to Narcan in the first place.
Taco volunteers are once again ready to save lives, deploying to Coachella with Narcan and test strips in hand.
Do you hope we get to the point where everybody who chooses to use drugs is carrying these strips?
Absolutely. Everyone who chooses to use recreational drugs should be testing those drugs for fentanyl. I want people to know that using drugs does not determine whether or not someone deserves to wake up the next morning. I also think it's important to understand that if you are using drugs and you want to prevent experiencing an overdose, it's essential that you test your drugs and also that you carry Narcan.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.